I'm talking with Junaid Islam, CTO of Vidder. Junaid, the business is moving so quickly today. There's so many applications that we have access to. There's so many ways that businesses interact with employees, outside contractors, customers, business partners. And one side, it's exciting, but on the other side, it just enhances and multiplies the security problem that we're facing. Tell us about Vidder and what your approach to this deperimeterization is.
Well, thanks for giving the opportunity to speak. So I think what you've pointed out is key. Business is changing. A long time ago, businesses were all in a building and had employees, and today we have contractors, consultants, we have people working in India for you. We have supply chain partners doing more and more. And what you're finding is what used to be inside is now outside, and people who are outside are now inside your company. And this is really challenging the existing security model because that has a kind of assumption which is no longer true. And one of the downsides of this new business environment is more cyber attacks. It's so easy now for hackers to get to you because there are so many ways to do it. They could go right after an employee working at home using a home PC. They could go after a contractor. And what we are trying to do as a company is create a new security architecture that addresses the problems people have today in the environment they have today.
Tell us about Vidder's new security architecture and how is that different from what's gone before?
So traditionally, security really came in the form of boxes. You used to buy a box that did some security function. And that was great when all your computers were in a single place and you could use a box to protect them. But now your assets are everywhere. You might have still applications, in your data center, but you might have something in a cloud, which is a popular way to get it. So we've developed a security solution based on a new concept called a software-defined perimeter. And as the name implies, it's software-defined. So we allow you to protect your assets wherever they are. They could be in the data center, they could be in the cloud, but we allow you as a company to have a consistent level of security across all of your assets.
And how do you get that consistent level of security across so many diverse assets?
So we're able to create a consistent level of security by having a set of checks that are performed for everybody. And the key is we do it super fast. So when you want to sign in as a user, the first thing we do is check your device and see if your device is known by us, yes or no. If it's known, we go to the next step. We then ask you to sign in and see if your credentials are correct. If that's okay, the next thing we do is figure out what you're supposed to do in the company. Are you an executive? Are you a contractor? And then the final step is we create access for you, and we kind of use the term precision access, just for you to the assets you are allowed to access. So this very simple mechanism is actually quite powerful because now, instead of hackers being able to pretend to be you and access everything, the worst case scenario is the hacker can only see what you can see. So we really change the threat landscape by many orders of magnitude.
Sounds a lot like a concept I heard over 2 decades ago called user-defined networks. And it had a lot of that access control and then limit what network you see when you log in the first place.
So the interesting thing about the software-defined perimeter concept that's deployed by Vidder is all the concepts are actually been around for 10, 20 years. One of the concepts is role-based access, and this has been around quite a long time, but role-based access was never implemented to the degree that we have implemented it. Let me give you another concept that's been around actually almost 20 years, is digital certificates. We see digital certificates all the time when we browse the web and we go to the bank. It's a very well-known concept. What we do is we've automated the process of issuing digital certificates to users. And then when the user comes in, we know exactly who they are before they even sign in because we see their digital certificate. Again, a very mature concept, a proven concept that's been around for 20 years. But what we've done at Vidder is taken, well-known concepts like role-based access, digital certificates, VPN, firewall, and blended them together. And the beauty is we do all the things I described within 2 or 3 seconds. So from a human perspective, they're just pressing a button. But when they press that button, all these things happen and they're into whatever they're supposed to get into, but nothing else.
Is it hard to manage that many factors in a policy?
Actually, that's a great question on manageability. The reason we have security failures today, if you think about OPM, isn't that these agencies didn't have these technologies, but they couldn't manage them, which meant they couldn't implement them or they implemented them improperly. We've actually worked very hard on 2 dimensions. One, from the human perspective, the user perspective, making it a button. And then 2, from the IT or security perspective, making it one web screen. And that's critical from a manageability because, again, if you think about what we're doing, role-based access, checking certificates, establishing dynamic VPNs, you could actually do this with 8 other products, but then the manageability would be impossible. What we've done is bring it all to one product, which makes it really easy for not only users, but also the IT security team to implement these kinds of, kind of strong security policies.
So in retrospect or in whole, how does Vidder help an enterprise adapt to, I guess, such a dynamic IT environment?
So we're able to help companies in a couple of very important dimensions. One of the, probably the biggest one we can help right off the bat is reducing the risk of high-value assets. All Fortune 500s have something that's the core to their business. It could be intellectual property around a business plan, a new product idea. So one of the first things that we can do, and we can do this quite quickly, is help take that risk off the table. Because currently, one of the more popular things in America is to use Microsoft SharePoint as a file server. But these SharePoint connect to internal networks, and hackers have gotten very good at weaving their way through internal networks to get to the important stuff. So one of the things we can do is create a micro perimeter around these very high value assets so they become invisible to hackers. And that's something that we can do within days. The next thing we can do that really helps companies is where they want to go, which is maybe use cloud services or cloud infrastructure. And there we can be used to really improve agility. Because we are software defined, the same technology we use to create a micro perimeter around your important secret at your company can also be used to protect and hide an asset in a public cloud service. Same technology. And that's the beauty of being software based. And it allows you as a company both to do 2 things simultaneously. One, take risk off the table, which is important, but then also improve your top line by giving you agility to do the kind of things you want to do.
You mentioned deploying in just a couple of days. What is the deployment process technically, and is it easy to scale to hundreds of thousands of users?
The beauty of being software based is deployment now is very streamlined. We have this notion of a software defined perimeter gateway, and these gateways are exactly one VM, one virtual machine big. And that is small enough that you can put it inside a physical server, you can put it on a server in front of a physical server, you can put it in a cloud. It's actually quite flexible. So the beauty is once the system is provisioned, which takes about half a day to connect to your certificate system or your identity system. If you don't have a certificate system, we have one for you just ready to go. Mm-hmm. That entire process takes once a day, but after the network is established, then deploying the VMs, which are kind of autonomous units for the gateways, that really takes no more than 20 or 30 minutes, and you can put these all over the place. And we have customers who have deployed gateways literally all over the planet, global corporations. We have one company that operates in over 170 companies, and they have gateways and data centers everywhere, and we're able to protect it.
Wow. Are you getting responses from those customers that are measurable, and that they can start feeding back to you what impact it's had on their total cost of ownership and operations?
Yeah, so one of the great things is because we are able to integrate so many different security functions in one common software platform, immediately there is a cost savings on the OpEx side. And that is very important. One of the interesting things with American corporations is the cost of manpower of running the security networks is sometimes 5 to 10 times higher than the actual equipment itself, deploying big teams. So one of the important things is companies immediately benefit from an OpEx savings, just because now a small team of people in one place in the United States can oversee a global network through a web screen. That's actually quite powerful. And that's an immediate benefit that people experience. And then the second part really comes through enabling new kinds of functionality, and that's kind of the longer multi-year. And so the idea is there's a short-term win, and there's also a long-term win by using us.
Is there, in that short-term win, is there the ability to displace other access control mechanisms that a company might be struggling with?
So typically what happens is when we get deployed, older or legacy access systems are usually not turned off, just because they've already been paid for. But what happens is the company our customers no longer need to invest in these kind of systems moving forward. And that typically is the model. Usually for a large company, the process of physically taking out older equipment is sometimes more cumbersome. So typically they'll deploy Vidder software-defined perimeter, and we will secure an array of assets. And then through the normal refresh process, those older systems will not be refreshed. And again, there's cost savings there.
Got it. It's very exciting to hear about your new technology. So thank you very much, Junaid.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.